Imagine an empire so vast it spanned continents, led by a man whose strategies combined speed, psychology, and innovation. Welcome to the story of the Mongol Empire, where knowledge, cunning, and sheer force reshaped the world forever. Let's dive into 100 fascinating chapters of conquest, survival, and ingenuity. Chapter 1. The Mongol Empire began in the vast steppes of Central Asia. Genghis Khan united warring tribes with cunning strategy and fierce determination. He didn't just fight battles, he studied the land, weather, and even enemy psychology. By turning chaos into order, he created an unstoppable force. The Mongols weren't just warriors, they were the architects of an empire that reshaped history. Chapter 2. Genghis Khan's real power came from speed. Mounted archers could ride up to 60 miles a day, striking before enemies even realized. The science of mobility, light armor, reinforced saddles, and efficient supply lines made them invincible. Surprise became their signature weapon. Every enemy underestimated them, and every time the Mongols proved that speed and intelligence beat brute force. Chapter 3. Communication was key for the Mongols. They built the Yam system, a network of relay stations with riders and horses ready 24/7. Messages traveled faster than any army could march. By mastering information, Genghis turned intelligence into warfare. In a time before email or radio, he created the medieval equivalent of a superhighway. Knowledge moved faster than swords. Chapter 4. The Mongols conquered vast lands with ruthless efficiency, but they also adapted. They studied conquered peoples, borrowing technology, siege tactics, and even agriculture techniques. Instead of destroying every culture, they integrated useful skills. Science, innovation, and practicality became part of their secret recipe. They weren't just conquerors, they were fast learners, turning diversity into strength. Chapter 5. Psychological warfare terrified enemies. Mongols would create phantom armies, light multiple fires, or pretend to retreat, luring opponents into traps. Fear became a weapon as powerful as arrows. Their reputation spread faster than their cavalry. By mastering human psychology, they didn't just win battles, they broke spirits. Every victory wasn't just physical, it was mental domination. Chapter 6. Genghis Khan valued merit over birthright. Leaders rose by skill, not lineage. Even the lowest soldier could become a general with talent and loyalty. This science of meritocracy created a motivated, disciplined army. People fought not just for fear, but for opportunity. By rewarding ability over ancestry, Genghis crafted a force where genius, not privilege, dictated power. Chapter 7. Siege warfare was another Mongol innovation. They adopted Chinese catapults, Persian engineers, and clever traps to conquer fortified cities. Knowledge of physics and engineering gave them an edge. They transformed ordinary towns into stepping stones for empire expansion. Mongols proved that even nomads could master science, turning intellect and brute strength into a perfect combination. Chapter 8. Trade thrived under Mongol rule. The Silk Road became safer than ever, connecting east and west. Merchants, scientists, and ideas moved freely across continents. Genghis understood that economic power reinforced military dominance. By protecting commerce, he built a sustainable empire. The Mongols weren't just destroyers, they were creators of a connected, globalizing world. Chapter 9. Religious tolerance was surprising for an empire of conquerors. Mongols allowed diverse faiths, Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, to coexist. They believed stability came from acceptance, not oppression. This pragmatic approach reduced rebellion and encouraged cultural exchange. Science, philosophy, and art traveled alongside armies. Tolerance became a tool of governance, showing wisdom often wins more than fear. Chapter 10. Genghis Khan's death didn't stop expansion. The empire continued to grow under his successors, reaching Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. They applied lessons learned from conquest, innovation, and intelligence. Each step forward reflected careful planning, not chaos. The Mongols left a legacy, a blueprint of power, mobility, and strategy. They weren't just rulers, they were history's unstoppable force. Chapter 11. The Mongol army relied on discipline more than numbers. Every soldier knew their role, from archer to scout to messenger. Drills were rigorous, ensuring precision under chaos. Science of organization made small units as deadly as huge armies. Coordination allowed attacks that seemed impossible. Genghis turned order into a weapon, proving that strategy often beats size in battle. Chapter 12. Maps were vital to Mongol success. Scouts explored terrain, rivers, and mountains, turning knowledge into advantage. They could traverse deserts, forests, and snow with confidence. Understanding geography gave them tactical superiority. They moved where enemies thought impossible. The science of terrain mastery let the Mongols control space before engaging in combat. Knowledge was a silent ally of conquest. Chapter 13. The Mongols used innovative logistics. Horses rotated constantly to avoid exhaustion, and supplies were cached along routes. This science of efficiency let them sustain long campaigns far from home. Armies didn't just survive, they thrived on mobility. The Mongols understood energy and endurance centuries before modern military science. Their method wasn't just survival, it was domination through preparation. Chapter 14. Spies were integral to the empire. Mongols gathered information on enemy strengths, weaknesses, and alliances. Intelligence shaped every strategy. Knowing the opponent's moves often decided battles before swords clashed. They combined observation, reports, and deception, creating an early form of espionage. By mastering the invisible war of knowledge, the Mongols stayed 3 steps ahead, making victory almost inevitable. Chapter 15. The Mongol bow was a technological marvel. Compact yet powerful, it allowed mounted archers to strike accurately at speed. Understanding tension, force, and aerodynamics gave them a deadly advantage. Training made archers precise and fast. Even heavily armored foes fell to these arrows. Science of weaponry, combined with mobility, transformed ordinary soldiers into unstoppable forces, redefining medieval warfare. Chapter 16. Genghis Khan encouraged innovation. Engineers, tacticians, and artisans were valued equally in campaigns. Science, invention, and adaptation were tools of survival and conquest. Every city, siege, or battle taught lessons to improve the next. The Mongols thrived by embracing change. Flexibility became a cornerstone of their empire, proving intelligence often trumps sheer force in shaping history. Chapter 17. Bridges and roads were more than infrastructure. They were military tools. Mongols built temporary bridges to cross rivers quickly. Roads connected stations, enabling fast communication. Science of engineering underpinned strategy. Logistics and mobility were intertwined, allowing armies to arrive before the enemy could react. The empire's strength lay in planning and construction as much as swords. Chapter 18. Psychological tricks weren't limited to battlefields. Mongols sent envoys with exaggerated threats or rumors to intimidate cities. Fear worked faster than armies. Even before a single arrow flew, cities surrendered. Understanding human perception and reaction gave the Mongols power over minds, not just lands. Every conquest was as much about imagination as it was about reality. Chapter 19. The empire's size demanded administration. Mongols used census-like surveys to track population, livestock, and resources. Governance relied on precise data. This early use of statistics helped allocate taxes, troops, and supplies efficiently. They combined observation with systematic recording, creating a management science centuries ahead of its time. Order in administration kept chaos at bay. Chapter 20. Nomadic culture shaped Mongol strategy. Adaptation to the steppe taught mobility, endurance, and resourcefulness. Horses, tents, and survival skills became core to military tactics. Science of survival intertwined with warfare, making every soldier self-sufficient. The Mongols' environment created warriors who mastered both nature and battle, proving adaptability often outweighs technology alone in shaping history. Chapter 21. Mongol horses were the backbone of the empire. Small but strong, they could survive harsh winters and carry heavy loads. Each soldier had multiple mounts, allowing continuous movement. The science of breeding, endurance, and care turned these animals into living engines of conquest. Their mobility allowed surprise attacks that overwhelmed enemies and reshaped battlefields across continents. Chapter 22. Genghis Khan valued loyalty above all. Betrayal was punished, but merit and allegiance were rewarded. This social science of trust ensured soldiers and leaders performed at peak efficiency. Loyalty wasn't just moral, it was practical. The Mongols built cohesion that kept armies disciplined across vast territories. A united army often conquered where divided forces failed, proving unity is strength. Chapter 23. Siege towers became Mongol favorites. They combined physics and engineering to assault walls with precision. Gravity, leverage, and timing turned timber and rope into weapons of destruction. By understanding forces at play, they could breach even the most fortified cities. Science and creativity merged with warfare, showing that intellect and innovation were as deadly as arrows. Chapter 24. Mongols mastered the art of retreat. Strategic withdrawal often lured enemies into traps or stretched supply lines thin. Science of timing, distance, and psychology made retreat a tactical weapon. Enemies thought they were winning, only to face ambushes. The Mongols proved that sometimes, pulling back with purpose wins more than charging blindly. Chapter 25. Genghis Khan promoted trade and knowledge exchange. Silk, spices, and scientific ideas traveled safely along Mongol-controlled routes. Cultural diffusion was part of conquest strategy. Science, medicine, and technology spread as rapidly as armies. The empire became a corridor for innovation, proving that power isn't just in war, it's in sharing knowledge effectively. Chapter 26. The Mongols' arrows were lightweight but deadly. Composite design and proper tension allowed rapid, accurate shooting from horseback. Soldiers trained to hit moving targets at distance. This science of precision amplified their small numbers into overwhelming firepower. Archery wasn't just skill, it was a weaponized science, making every cavalry unit a deadly force multiplier on the battlefield. Chapter 27. Water and food management ensured army survival. Mongols cached supplies along routes, and scouts located natural resources in advance. Science of logistics allowed campaigns deep into deserts and mountains. Proper planning minimized fatigue and hunger, turning endurance into a tactical advantage. The Mongols' efficiency in survival often determined the outcome before combat began. Chapter 28. Genghis Khan encouraged learning from enemies. Engineers, scientists, and tacticians captured during campaigns often joined Mongol service. Knowledge from across cultures became a weapon. Science and strategy merged, allowing innovations in warfare, construction, and administration. Adaptation was constant. The Mongols didn't just conquer, they evolved with every campaign. Chapter 29. Firearms weren't common yet, but Mongols experimented with explosives in sieges. Knowledge of combustion and pressure allowed rudimentary gunpowder use. Early science of chemistry and engineering helped breach fortified walls. They combined bravery with experimentation, showing that curiosity could complement conquest. Innovation became a secret weapon alongside arrows and cavalry. Chapter 30. The Mongols' empire stretched across diverse climates. From steppes to deserts to mountains, they adapted strategies to survive and conquer. Science of adaptation, clothing, shelters, movement, kept armies effective. Environmental mastery turned obstacles into advantages. Genghis Khan's genius lay not only in fighting, but in understanding the world around him and bending it to his will. Chapter 31. Mongols used intelligence networks everywhere. Spies and informants reported enemy troop movements and city defenses. By combining observation with rapid communication, they could plan attacks with precision. Science of information gave them an advantage that brute force alone couldn't. Knowledge became a weapon, and every city fell faster when the Mongols knew what to expect. Chapter 32. Genghis Khan emphasized speed over size. Small units of cavalry could outmaneuver much larger armies. Science of motion, formation, and stamina made surprise attacks devastating. The Mongols taught the world that mobility often outweighs manpower. Every battle became a lesson in efficiency, showing that clever tactics could turn a handful of warriors into a dominant force. Chapter 33. The Mongol diet supported endurance. Dried meat, fermented mare's milk, and grains sustained long campaigns. Science of nutrition kept soldiers energetic and horses strong. They understood caloric needs and rationing long before modern science. Survival wasn't left to chance. Preparation made campaigns sustainable. Every victory was supported by knowledge of what kept humans and animals alive. Chapter 34. The empire's legal code, Yasa, ensured order. Rules were clear, punishments swift, and loyalty rewarded. Science of governance combined with practicality created stability across vast lands. Soldiers and civilians knew what to expect. Order reduced rebellion, and efficiency increased. Even distant provinces followed the same system, proving that strong administration often shapes empires more than battles alone. Chapter 35. Mongols mastered psychological messaging. Flags, drums, and signals communicated movements and intimidated foes. Science of perception amplified their presence on the battlefield. Enemies often surrendered before combat due to fear of overwhelming precision. Visual and auditory cues became extensions of military power. Strategy wasn't only in swords, it was also in minds and senses. Chapter 36. Horse armor protected both rider and mount. Lightweight yet durable, it combined metallurgy and design to withstand arrows and swords. Science of materials allowed mobility without sacrificing safety. Soldiers could engage in long campaigns with fewer losses. Engineering knowledge enhanced effectiveness, proving that technology, even simple, could reshape battlefield outcomes. Chapter 37. Genghis Khan valued knowledge exchange. Scholars, engineers, and craftsmen were invited to contribute to empire growth. Science, mathematics, and technology traveled with armies. Learning wasn't restricted by origin. Practical application of knowledge became a tool of conquest. The Mongols thrived by blending curiosity with strategy, showing that intellect and action often march hand in hand. Chapter 38. The Mongols used coordinated multi-front attacks. Cavalry units struck from several directions simultaneously, confusing enemies. Science of timing, angles, and speed made attacks nearly unstoppable. Opponents often fought shadows instead of real threats. Strategic complexity ensured victories with minimal losses. The art of coordination proved that planning and precision could outweigh raw strength. Chapter 39. Maps weren't just drawings, they were tools of war. Mongol scouts charted terrain, rivers, and obstacles, creating accurate battlefield plans. Science of observation turned geography into an advantage. Knowing where enemies could and couldn't move saved lives and ensured tactical superiority. Understanding the environment was as crucial as mastering weapons in Mongol campaigns. Chapter 40. Genghis Khan adapted siege techniques constantly. Catapults, fire, and tunnels were improved through trial and observation. Science of mechanics and physics increased effectiveness. Engineers became valued members of campaigns. Every city conquered taught new lessons. Adaptation, learning, and experimentation became weapons themselves. Mongols weren't just conquerors, they were relentless innovators of war. Chapter 41. The Mongols relied on intelligence before every campaign. Scouts mapped terrain, reported enemy numbers, and tracked supplies. Science of reconnaissance gave them a decisive advantage. Planning allowed attacks with precision and minimal risk. Knowledge of the battlefield often determined victory before battle began. The Mongols proved that foresight was as powerful as swords or arrows. Chapter 42. Genghis Khan used signal systems to coordinate armies. Flags, horns, and riders communicated movements across miles. Science of communication enhanced speed and efficiency. Armies moved in harmony even over vast distances. Coordination became a force multiplier. With signals, Mongols struck suddenly and in unison, overwhelming enemies who could not anticipate their timing or direction. Chapter 43. The Mongol cavalry trained relentlessly. Soldiers learned to shoot accurately while galloping, often backwards to cover retreats. Science of balance, muscle memory, and timing made archery on horseback deadly. Practice turned ordinary soldiers into precision forces. Mobility and skill combined to create a unique advantage. Every arrow fired reflected hours of disciplined training and scientific understanding of motion. Chapter 44. Genghis Khan valued engineers. Siege specialists built catapults, towers, and bridges, applying physics and mechanics. Science of leverage, pressure, and materials amplified destructive power. Mongols turned temporary structures into war machines. Cities fell faster when ingenuity combined with brutality. Innovation in technology became a key pillar of conquest, proving intellect could enhance even the most violent campaigns. Chapter 45. The Mongols used environmental adaptation as a weapon. Campaigns considered temperature, wind, and terrain. Science of survival and strategy intertwined. Armies knew where to camp, how to feed horses, and when to strike. Understanding nature allowed unexpected maneuvers. Mongols could attack during harsh winters or cross deserts when enemies hesitated. Knowledge of the environment became a tactical secret weapon. Chapter 46. Genghis Khan rewarded merit and loyalty. Soldiers rose by skill, not birth. Science of leadership ensured competent generals led key units. Incentives motivated warriors to excel. Meritocracy built efficient, disciplined armies. This social strategy created trust and motivation. By valuing ability over tradition, the Mongols achieved cohesion and performance unmatched in medieval history. Chapter 47. Trade under the Mongols flourished. Roads were safe, markets prospered, and ideas traveled with goods. Science of logistics ensured merchants and armies moved efficiently. Economic stability reinforced military power. The Silk Road became a conduit for science, medicine, and culture. Knowledge and commerce traveled together, showing that conquest could coexist with prosperity. Chapter 48. Genghis Khan's intelligence networks included foreign advisors. Engineers, artisans, and tacticians contributed knowledge of weapons, architecture, and strategy. Science of collaboration expanded military capabilities. Diverse expertise became a weapon. The Mongols learned from every culture, blending technology and tactics. Adaptation through knowledge made them unpredictable and highly effective conquerors. Chapter 49. Surprise was a central Mongol strategy. Feigned retreats, hidden units, and night attacks disoriented enemies. Science of deception and timing created advantages before combat. Opponents often fell into traps. Psychological manipulation complemented military power. Every victory demonstrated that brains often outmatch brawn, and the Mongols perfected the art of making the impossible seem inevitable. Chapter 50. The Mongol postal system moved messages faster than armies could march. Riders switched horses at relay stations, covering vast distances efficiently. Science of logistics and speed maintained coordination across the empire. Information flowed as quickly as conquest. Efficient communication allowed the Mongols to respond to threats instantly, proving that empire building relied as much on knowledge as on swords and arrows. Chapter 51. Genghis Khan valued adaptability. Mongol units adjusted tactics based on terrain, enemy, and weather. Science of flexibility allowed armies to respond instantly. Nomadic experience taught rapid change was survival. This adaptability turned potential weaknesses into advantages. By embracing change, Mongols could conquer mountains, deserts, and rivers alike. Every maneuver reflected a keen understanding of environment and circumstance. Chapter 52. The Mongols used psychological terror systematically. Stories of brutal punishment spread ahead of armies. Science of perception amplified fear. Cities often surrendered without resistance, reducing casualties and conserving resources. Reputation became a weapon. Every conquest reinforced the empire's aura. Genghis Khan understood that human psychology could be as decisive as sword or arrow in warfare. Chapter 53. Genghis Khan organized supply chains meticulously. Scouts identified water sources, food caches, and safe routes. Science of logistics kept soldiers and horses well fed. Armies moved faster and farther than enemies expected. Preparation allowed sustained campaigns deep into foreign lands. The Mongols proved that meticulous planning could transform endurance and survival into strategic advantages on the battlefield. Chapter 54. Mongol cavalry often fought in waves. Coordinated strikes combined speed, archery, and retreat tactics. Science of timing and spacing ensured maximum impact. Even smaller forces could rout larger armies. Each maneuver was a calculated combination of physics and psychology. Coordination, precision, and discipline transformed simple units into devastating, unstoppable forces on the field of battle. Chapter 55. Genghis Khan implemented merit-based promotion. Talented individuals advanced regardless of background. Science of human motivation created elite leaders. Soldiers trusted commanders who earned respect. Meritocracy increased efficiency and loyalty. By prioritizing ability over birthright, the Mongols ensured every unit had capable leadership. Competence became a weapon, reinforcing the empire's strength beyond mere numbers. Chapter 56. Mongols adopted new technologies quickly. Chinese siege devices, Persian engineering, and foreign innovations were integrated into campaigns. Science of adaptation amplified power. They learned, improved, and deployed with speed. Innovation became a standard tool of conquest. By merging knowledge from across cultures, Mongols stayed ahead of opponents, turning learning into a strategic advantage. Chapter 57. Horse endurance was key. Mongols rotated mounts, traveled light, and rationed food scientifically. Science of stamina allowed rapid movement over hundreds of miles. Enemies exhausted themselves while Mongols remained fresh. Mobility became a force multiplier. Every long-distance raid demonstrated the critical role of preparation, animal management, and strategy in the success of Genghis Khan's campaigns. Chapter 58. Genghis Khan encouraged cultural exchange. Captured artisans and scholars contributed to empire growth. Science, medicine, and knowledge traveled with armies. Exchange enhanced military, economic, and societal strength. By valuing expertise, the Mongols built a multifaceted empire. Learning from others reinforced power, showing that conquest could coexist with innovation and intellectual growth. Chapter 59. The Mongols used deception expertly. False retreats, hidden units, and ambushes disoriented enemies. Science of prediction and manipulation amplified battlefield effectiveness. Every feigned weakness drew enemies into traps. Psychology complemented strategy, creating victories with minimal losses. Genghis Khan proved that cleverness often surpassed raw strength, making deception a cornerstone of military success. Chapter 60. Genghis Khan's empire required administration at scale. Census, taxation, and legal codes ensured control over vast territories. Science of governance maintained order. Knowledge of populations allowed better allocation of resources and troops. Efficient bureaucracy prevented rebellion and strengthened cohesion. The empire's stability reflected careful management, showing that administration and organization were as vital as conquest. Chapter 61. Genghis Khan mastered battlefield communication. Riders, flags, and horns relayed orders across miles instantly. Science of signals ensured synchronized attacks. Coordination allowed simultaneous strikes from multiple directions. Enemies were overwhelmed by timing and precision. Even vast distances didn't hinder control. Every battle became a choreography of movement, demonstrating that communication could multiply the power of an army exponentially. Chapter 62. Mongols relied on mobility over fortification. Light armor, fast horses, and minimal baggage allowed rapid marches. Science of movement increased efficiency and surprise. Armies could attack unexpectedly, escape quickly, or chase fleeing foes. Speed became a weapon. The Mongols proved that being fast, adaptable, and unpredictable could dominate even better-equipped opponents, turning terrain and timing into decisive advantages. Chapter 63. Genghis Khan emphasized intelligence gathering. Scouts observed enemy habits, defenses, and supply lines. Science of observation informed strategies and minimized risks. Accurate information allowed precise planning and execution. Conquests often succeeded before battles began. Knowledge and preparation became force multipliers, showing that the Mongols' victories relied as much on brains as bravery. Chapter 64. Mongol archers trained to shoot accurately while mounted at full gallop. Science of physics, balance, and timing made this possible. Multiple volleys could overwhelm enemy formations. Skill and strategy combined to create devastating efficiency. Each soldier became a living weapon, demonstrating that precision, practice, and understanding of mechanics transformed ordinary warriors into an extraordinary army. Chapter 65. The Mongols leveraged environmental conditions. Winter snow, desert heat, and river crossings were factored into strategies. Science of adaptation ensured soldiers and horses survived harsh conditions. By turning nature into an ally, Mongols could strike when enemies least expected. Environmental mastery became a force multiplier, proving survival skills were integral to military success. Chapter 66. Genghis Khan valued engineers. Siege towers, catapults, and bridges were designed with precision. Science of mechanics and material science enhanced effectiveness. Engineers turned basic tools into weapons of conquest. Innovation in warfare allowed the Mongols to breach fortresses previously thought impregnable. Knowledge and technology often determined victory before combat even began. Chapter 67. Meritocracy shaped leadership. Skill determined rank, not birth. Science of motivation and efficiency ensured competent leaders commanded key units. Soldiers trusted merit-based authority, enhancing discipline. Leadership was practical and effective. By rewarding talent, the Mongols created agile, efficient forces capable of executing complex maneuvers with minimal errors, maximizing battlefield potential. Chapter 68. The Mongol postal system enabled rapid communication across the empire. Riders switched horses at relay stations to cover vast distances efficiently. Science of logistics and timing allowed coordination of multiple armies. Orders and intelligence traveled faster than enemies could react. Efficient messaging strengthened both governance and warfare, turning speed into strategic power. Chapter 69. Genghis Khan encouraged cultural and technological exchange. Captured scholars, engineers, and artisans contributed knowledge to the empire. Science, art, and military technology spread across regions. Adaptation and innovation enhanced Mongol power. Learning from conquered peoples strengthened administration, economy, and military capability. Knowledge became both a shield and a weapon for empire expansion. Chapter 70. Psychological warfare ensured Mongol dominance. Rumors, displays of strength, and feigned retreats intimidated enemies. Science of perception amplified impact. Cities surrendered to avoid destruction. Mental manipulation reduced resistance and preserved resources. Genghis Khan understood that controlling minds was as effective as controlling lands, making fear and strategy indispensable weapons of conquest. Chapter 71. Mongol scouts mapped enemy terrain meticulously. Knowledge of rivers, mountains, and forests allowed precise maneuvers. Science of observation and geography guided strategy. Armies moved efficiently, avoiding ambushes and exploiting weaknesses. Understanding the battlefield turned ordinary marches into tactical advantages. Genghis Khan demonstrated that foresight and careful planning often decided battles before swords clashed. Chapter 72. Genghis Khan employed feigned retreat strategically. Pretending to flee lured enemies into traps. Science of timing and psychology ensured maximum impact. Opponents overextended and became vulnerable. Retreats became tools of deception. Mongol victories often relied on manipulating enemy perception. Cleverness on the battlefield proved that cunning could be more deadly than brute strength. Chapter 73. Mongol soldiers trained relentlessly. Archery, horseback maneuvers, and endurance exercises sharpened skill. Science of practice and repetition enhanced precision and reaction times. Each soldier became a weapon capable of striking accurately under pressure. Discipline and training multiplied combat effectiveness, demonstrating that preparation and consistent practice could turn ordinary humans into extraordinary warriors. Chapter 74. Genghis Khan encouraged innovation in warfare. Siege engines, bridges, and traps incorporated knowledge from conquered regions. Science of engineering and mechanics expanded army capabilities. Adaptation allowed the Mongols to overcome previously invincible fortifications. Every campaign became a learning experience, turning knowledge into a force multiplier. Innovation and adaptability were central to Mongol dominance. Chapter 75. Mongol logistics ensured long campaigns succeeded. Supply caches, horse rotations, and resource planning supported endurance. Science of organization and rationing allowed mobility across deserts and mountains. Well-fed soldiers and healthy horses maintained speed and strength. Planning was as crucial as combat skill. The Mongols proved that preparation and resource management determined the limits of empire expansion. Chapter 76. Genghis Khan valued merit-based promotion. Competence determined rank, not birth. Science of human motivation increased loyalty and efficiency. Soldiers respected capable leaders, enhancing discipline and execution. Meritocracy produced elite commanders who maximized battlefield potential. By emphasizing skill over tradition, the Mongols built an agile, motivated army capable of executing complex strategies with precision. Chapter 77. Mongols mastered the use of psychological warfare. Threats, rumors, and displays of power intimidated cities and armies. Science of fear amplified victories. Many towns surrendered before combat, reducing casualties and preserving resources. Controlling perception became a tool as powerful as weapons. Genghis Khan understood that managing minds could achieve conquest as efficiently as managing armies. Chapter 78. Environmental mastery was key. Mongol armies adapted to heat, snow, and rivers. Science of survival, clothing, and movement ensured effectiveness. Understanding terrain allowed strategic advantage and surprise attacks. Nature became an ally rather than an obstacle. The Mongols' ability to operate under extreme conditions amplified mobility and endurance, giving them an edge over less adaptable foes. Chapter 79. The Mongol cavalry was highly versatile. Light armor, fast horses, and disciplined units allowed rapid attacks and retreats. Science of motion, stamina, and coordination created overwhelming impact. Small units could defeat larger forces. Maneuverability became a weapon. The combination of speed, skill, and strategy turned mobility into a dominant force in Genghis Khan's campaigns. Chapter 80. Genghis Khan integrated foreign knowledge into campaigns. Engineers, artisans, and tacticians shared innovations from China, Persia, and beyond. Science of adaptation strengthened military capabilities. Mongols learned, improved, and applied technology quickly. Incorporating expertise from multiple cultures gave them unpredictable advantages. Knowledge became both a shield and weapon, making conquest faster, more efficient, and more enduring. Chapter 81. Mongols perfected night raids. Darkness became an ally, allowing stealthy attacks and ambushes. Science of timing and coordination ensured efficiency. Enemies were disoriented and unprepared. Surprise amplified effectiveness, making even fortified camps vulnerable. Night operations demonstrated that strategy could turn the environment into a weapon, giving Genghis Khan's forces advantages beyond raw strength or numbers. Chapter 82. Genghis Khan maintained strict discipline. Soldiers followed orders without hesitation. Science of hierarchy and structure ensured efficiency and minimized chaos. Every unit knew its role, reducing mistakes in complex maneuvers. Discipline turned ordinary troops into precise machines of war. Consistency in behavior and training multiplied battlefield effectiveness, proving that order often decides outcomes faster than weapons alone. Chapter 83. Mongol archers mastered multi-directional attacks. Coordinated volleys from several angles overwhelmed enemies. Science of timing and positioning enhanced lethality. Even numerically superior armies struggled against precision fire. Skill and coordination became decisive. Archery wasn't just force, it was strategy applied through science and practice. Mongols demonstrated that technique could outperform sheer numbers on the battlefield. Chapter 84. Genghis Khan relied on adaptable siege tactics. Catapults, fire, and tunnels were modified for each city. Science of mechanics and physics enhanced effectiveness. Learning from failures improved future operations. Siege innovation allowed Mongols to conquer previously impregnable fortresses. Adaptation turned challenges into opportunities, showing that flexibility and knowledge often define success in warfare. Chapter 85. The Mongols implemented rapid communication. Riders and signals conveyed orders over hundreds of miles. Science of logistics and coordination ensured synchronized attacks. Efficient messaging prevented confusion and maximized speed. Every maneuver was executed with precision. Communication multiplied the effectiveness of even small forces, proving that information flow is as crucial as manpower in expanding an empire. Chapter 86. Genghis Khan encouraged cultural knowledge. Scholars, engineers, and artisans enhanced administration and military capabilities. Science of learning strengthened governance and strategy. Knowledge from conquered regions improved logistics, weaponry, and city management. Adaptation of expertise became a weapon. The Mongols used human intellect as effectively as cavalry, proving that curiosity and incorporation of foreign ideas reinforced empire building. Chapter 87. Mongol feigned retreats created deadly traps. Pretending to flee drew enemies into ambushes. Science of timing and psychology amplified effectiveness. Opponents overcommitted and were surrounded. Strategy combined with deception became a lethal combination. Manipulating perception allowed minimal losses while maximizing impact. Genghis Khan demonstrated that cunning and discipline often decided outcomes more than raw force. Chapter 88. The empire's legal code, Yasa, ensured order across vast lands. Clear rules and swift enforcement maintained discipline. Science of governance stabilized conquered populations. Predictable justice minimized rebellion and increased efficiency. Soldiers and civilians alike understood consequences, reinforcing obedience. Strong administration allowed expansion to continue smoothly, proving that law and organization were essential complements to military power. Chapter 89. Mongol logistics allowed unprecedented mobility. Horses rotated regularly, supplies were pre-positioned, and routes planned meticulously. Science of endurance and efficiency ensured sustained campaigns across deserts, mountains, and steppes. Armies arrived ready to fight while opponents struggled. Planning amplified effectiveness, showing that preparation, resource management, and foresight often determined the outcome before combat began. Chapter 90. Genghis Khan promoted meritocracy. Leaders advanced by skill, not birth. Science of motivation ensured loyalty and performance. Soldiers respected capable commanders, increasing cohesion. Competence in leadership allowed complex maneuvers with precision. Meritocracy created a professional, motivated force. By rewarding ability, Mongols built an army that could execute strategy efficiently, making human talent a decisive weapon in empire expansion. Chapter 91. Mongols integrated engineers from conquered regions. Siege machines, bridges, and fortifications improved rapidly. Science of mechanics and construction amplified battlefield success. Knowledge from multiple cultures created unpredictability and efficiency. Every innovation gave a strategic edge. Genghis Khan proved that incorporating diverse expertise turned learning into a weapon, allowing the empire to conquer stronger and better defended cities. Chapter 92. Genghis Khan relied on swift decision-making. Scouts, reports, and signals informed immediate tactical choices. Science of observation and rapid response ensured success. Delays could be fatal, so speed and judgment became a force multiplier. Quick, informed decisions allowed Mongols to exploit enemy mistakes, proving that mental agility could equal or surpass raw military power in shaping outcomes. Chapter 93. Mongol cavalry executed multi-directional encirclements. Units attacked from front, flank, and rear simultaneously. Science of coordination and timing maximized impact. Opponents were trapped and confused. Even large armies succumbed to precise maneuvers. Skillful execution of strategy demonstrated that planning, science, and discipline often mattered more than numerical superiority in achieving decisive victories. Chapter 94. Genghis Khan studied conquered peoples. Knowledge of customs, languages, and strengths allowed efficient administration. Science of anthropology and observation guided integration and governance. Understanding populations minimized rebellion and maximized loyalty. The Mongols transformed conquered territories into productive parts of the empire. Cultural awareness became a strategic tool, showing that intelligence and empathy could enhance power and stability. Chapter 95. Mongols leveraged terrain mastery. Mountains, rivers, and deserts were used strategically for ambushes and defense. Science of geography and movement amplified tactical advantage. Enemies misjudged distances and routes. Control over the environment allowed surprise attacks and rapid retreats. Understanding the natural world turned obstacles into assets, giving Genghis Khan's forces superiority beyond weapons or numbers. Chapter 96. Genghis Khan promoted knowledge sharing. Scholars, engineers, and artisans contributed across the empire. Science of learning spread innovations in administration, architecture, and warfare. Cultural and technological exchange strengthened power. Knowledge became as crucial as cavalry or archery. By valuing expertise, the Mongols improved efficiency, enhanced strategies, and created an empire that thrived on both intellect and military might. Chapter 97. Mongols perfected psychological warfare. Threats, rumors, and displays of overwhelming force created fear. Science of perception ensured opponents often surrendered without combat. Mental manipulation preserved resources and minimized casualties. Cities fell to intimidation alone. Genghis Khan understood controlling minds was as important as controlling lands. Strategy and fear became weapons as deadly as swords. Chapter 98. Mongol communication networks were unrivaled. Riders, signals, and relay stations transmitted orders rapidly across thousands of miles. Science of coordination multiplied efficiency. Armies moved in harmony, even across vast distances. Every unit operated with precision, showing that information flow could amplify force exponentially. Effective communication ensured the empire functioned smoothly, reinforcing conquest and governance alike. Chapter 99. Genghis Khan adapted siege technology constantly. Catapults, fire, and tunnels were refined based on experience. Science of mechanics and innovation ensured success against fortified cities. Engineers learned from each operation, improving methods. Adaptation turned challenges into advantages. The Mongols demonstrated that continuous improvement and applied knowledge were crucial in maintaining military dominance and achieving efficient conquests. Chapter 100. The Mongol Empire's legacy endures. Mastery of mobility, psychology, innovation, and logistics reshaped the medieval world. Science, observation, and strategy underpinned victories. Genghis Khan created more than an army. He built a system combining intellect and force. Every conquest reflected preparation, adaptability, and discipline. The Mongols proved that knowledge, speed, and strategy could conquer both land and history itself. The Mongol Empire wasn't just about warriors and battles. It was about strategy, adaptation, and vision. From swift cavalry to advanced logistics, Genghis Khan's legacy still echoes across history. Remember, empires rise not only through force, but through intelligence, innovation, and mastery of the world around them.